Hey y'all, I'm Jennifer Ertley. I am a change management consultant and expert, and I am here to help you be more effective in your change work. Whether you hold that position as change management professional inside an organization, whether you're a consultant, maybe you have no change people inside your organization and you are a manager or a supervisor or a leader of some sort, and you are trying to get a change, something changed within the company, something implemented within the company. Regardless of who you are, I offer tools and advice and insights to help you be more effective in your work. So in a previous video, we have talked about the stakeholder analysis, and we talked a lot about like the nuts and bolts, the block and tackle of completing the stakeholder analysis. And you can see that this is a template that I use. I do sell it on jenniferearly.com as well as in my Etsy shop, and Gumroad, and those links are provided in the description. But the point of this video is to talk more about why we do the stakeholder work and how to do it more effectively. So why do we do stakeholder work? In any change, you have to understand who your audiences are. And many times the decision for that change has been made at a very high level, right? A VP or a C-suite person has said, we have to make a change. We need this new system. Go do it, right? And they have given the directive to the people that work for them to go do it. Great. That's awesome that somebody has made that decision. However, we need to take into account all of the stakeholders who are going to be impacted. Might be somebody that's actually impacted, might be somebody that is going to help you drive the change, might be somebody that just needs to be informed of the change. And a lot of change projects fail because we don't think about all of our stakeholder groups. If you look at the company, you look at all the functional teams. In any big company, there might be 15 or 20 or more functional teams. You have to consider all of those. You don't, like, probably 50% are not going to be involved in that change in any way, but you have to consider them. And many times it is not obvious. And here's one reason why. If you are implementing a technology solution, like let's say that you're putting in place a product lifecycle management tool, and you consider that product development they are the ones that are going to be pushing the buttons, right, in that system. And many times the organization will think, well, it's not a big deal because that's the only group that's going to be pushing buttons. But what you have to consider are the people upstream and their inputs to either a system that is integrated with product lifecycle management, or a system that impacts, or a business process that impacts product lifecycle management. So it's not just the implementation of the tool and those people that are affected. It can be people upstream. Similarly, it can be people downstream. So the inputs that go into that system and the business process change that occurs because of the implementation of that system impacts people downstream, right? So we need to think about the upstream and downstream impacts. It seems obvious, but many companies, that is their downfall. They forget about the other groups that are impacted, and there's a failure somewhere else. The system works beautifully, but the adjacent teams do not. The adjacent teams are the ones that help cause the failure of the system because they were not kept informed of the changes that impacted them. Okay, so the second thing I wanted to talk about is how to get the information that you need as a change practitioner or a change person, a person that is trying to drive a change inside the organization. You need to have a relationship. You need to build a relationship with somebody in each of these groups. So let's say that we're talking about sales. That's the example that's up here on the screen. Inside sales reps is a role that is going to be impacted in a moderate way in this change that we're talking about in this particular spreadsheet. So we need to understand the voice of that inside sales rep. It seems very simple, but many times you will be working on a project and somebody will say, oh yeah, I got it. Inside sales, even though I work in product development, I know what goes on in the minds of inside sales reps. And maybe that person does, but you as a change practitioner, you really need to know what goes on in the minds of that person. And you would be surprised that having a 15 to 20 minute conversation with somebody in inside sales is going to give you that insight that you need about how they do their job. So in a perfect world, you might have a small focus group or a small set of interviews with 2, 3, 5 inside sales reps. If you're a change person and you've only got so much time on your project and you've got 15 different stakeholder groups to get to know really well, I would recommend at least one person from each group. You can take 15 to 20 minutes with one person across 15 groups to get the information that you need and those insights. And that is critically important. The stakeholder analysis, without the process of completing this document, it is a process. It is not just dropping in the information and then putting that spreadsheet aside. This is a living document that you are going to use throughout your entire change process. You should be updating it on a regular basis as you learn new information. As you have those interviews, you will continue to be updating it. You should be presenting it back to your project team and saying, here's what I've learned about these stakeholders, and here's what we need to keep in mind as we are developing this solution. And I'm going to talk about the presentation here for a minute. So far we have talked about why it's important to do the stakeholder analysis, how to do it better, and that's through interviewing people, through people from the individual groups. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how to present it back to your client. So I'm going to show you that this is the spreadsheet that I do all of my work in. And I'm going to show you the PowerPoint deck that I have copied and pasted that spreadsheet. I do a paste special, and I do the Microsoft object, and I paste that into this PowerPoint slide. So, and then when I make changes and I go back to my Excel spreadsheet and make changes here, it automatically updates the PowerPoint slide. Like I said, I do sell these tools on my website and Etsy and Gumroad. Regardless of whether you buy my tools, I think it's really effective to do all of your sausage making work in a spreadsheet. And then when you need to present it to your client, you can present it in a more visually appealing way. So I'm going to show you an example of how I do that. I don't want to screw up this spreadsheet and this PowerPoint slide deck. So I'm going to show you, first of all, I'm going to show you my really messy desktop, but also I'm going to show you how I do this. So I've got a spreadsheet here that I'm just going to do some testing in. So you can see at the top, it doesn't matter what the data is because I'm just going to show you how to copy it and paste it into the PowerPoint slide and how to update it. So let's do this. So the group will say is sales, we'll say their attributes are customer facing, etc. We'll say their degree of impact is high, right? So I just put some test data in here so you could see. So in this other spreadsheet I showed you, we had tons of columns and tons of rows. And let's say that I have the same thing here. I've got tons of columns and tons of rows. So I'm going to take that section and I'm going to give myself a few more rows and a few more columns. And I'm just going to do a simple copy. So I can do Command C on a Mac, or I can just, I can go up here and I can go copy, right? So now I've copied the cells from my Excel spreadsheet. And then I'm going to go to my PowerPoint that I have back here. And I'm going to click on the slide here that I want to drop that test data in here. And I'm going to go up to edit and I'm going to go to paste special. And then it's going to say Microsoft Excel worksheet object. That's what I want to paste. I don't want to paste any of this other stuff. So I'm going to click OK. And it dropped it in for me, right? Great. And I can make it a little bit bigger. I can make it, I can move it around, whatever. Okay, so let's say that I want to edit this. I'm not gonna go, I can go back to my spreadsheet, but what I really want to do is I want to double click this spreadsheet in PowerPoint, and it's going to take me to the worksheet that I have been working on. So I originally created in Excel, I copied and pasted into PowerPoint, and then I double click to bring up the worksheet again to make the edits. So I'm just going to, just for visual purposes, I'm going to color code this yellow. So you can see that when I go back to my PowerPoint slide right here, oops, sorry, let's go back to PowerPoint, that it is highlighted in yellow. It automatically updates. So you can do that And this is a much more visually appealing way when you go to present to your client, or go to present to your colleagues what that stakeholder analysis looks like. You can just copy and paste the cells that you want to present into a PowerPoint slide. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I would love a follow here if you're down for it. And again, my name is Jennifer Ertley. I'm here to help you be more effective in your change work. Thank you so much.